I'm Sarah Wilson, and you're listening to the Roots and All Budcast. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Budcast. Last week was the last episode in the vegan gardening series, and I hope you enjoyed listening to the episodes as much as I enjoyed speaking to Cleve, Caroline and Matthew. I'm constantly amazed and honoured that I'm able to speak to people who are so knowledgeable, and sometimes I have to pinch myself to believe I'm really doing this. And I'd also like to thank everyone who's supporting the podcast. I've had 2 new regular Patreon subscribers, and I'm really grateful to you both, as every last penny counts for me at the moment whilst I'm getting the podcast off the ground. I'm afraid I have some really sad news for you to begin with, and if you listen to episode 12 of the podcast, you'll have heard me interview Esiah Levy of the Seed Share Project, and I'm sorry to have to tell you that Esiah has passed away. As a tribute to Esiah, I thought I'd dedicate this episode to talking about seed sharing and food sovereignty, which are things that he was passionate about, and hopefully, if you're in the process of ordering seeds at the moment, you might be inspired to explore beyond your usual tried and trusted seed catalogues. I'm going to begin by giving an overview of why buying heirloom and open pollinated seeds is important, and the impacts that our modern methods of seed saving and production are having on food security worldwide. Then I'm going to suggest a few places where you can go and find out more information and actually purchase these seeds. And this will be a fairly brief overview of this topic, but I do intend to delve into it much more in future episodes. So what are you getting when you buy seeds from some of the big seed producing companies? Well, often the seeds you buy are F1 hybrids. And F1 hybrid plants are only really any good for one growing season. And you might think, well, that's fine. I only want to grow these tomatoes for one season. The problem is that buying these F1 hybrids means that you or anyone else who may be growing these plants, such as farmers, can collect the seeds and store them for use next year, but they might not necessarily make great plants. And again, you might think not being able to save the seed is not a big deal. But the other problem is these F1 hybrids lack genetic diversity, which is what makes species able to adapt and be more resilient when dealing with things such as diseases or environmental changes. The more we all become reliant on F1 seed, the less need there is for companies to produce the open pollinated varieties. And if this trend were to continue unchecked, we could become reliant on F1 varieties and would end up with a few large companies controlling all the seeds, because F1 seeds can be patented, whereas open pollinated ones can't. And as seed producers, the Seed Cooperative puts it on their website, open pollinated seeds are the original open source software of food. Their genetic material does not belong to anyone. So people who champion open pollinated seeds and food security generally believe that we should be getting our food from a greater number of smaller places. And these smaller farms could grow a diversity of crops and rely less on agribusinesses for seeds, and they could also rely less on pesticides and fertilisers. They believe this system is more resilient. It puts food production back into the hands of farmers and producers and provides more jobs and better and fairer rewards for growers and workers. And the knock-on effect of this style of farming and having this diversity of crops is that it's better for the environment and for wildlife too. On a micro level, reasons that you might want to grow heirloom varieties are that you'll be able to grow crops that are different to mainstream crops. For example, they may have a better flavour than those that have been produced to ensure a degree of uniformity or disease resistance. Or they may be suited to a particular purpose. For example, you might choose to grow a tomato variety that's good when cooked because that's how you want to use it, and therefore you'll be less interested in a tomato that's a jack of all trades and a master of none. Choosing heirloom seeds from a local source also means that you may be able to grow plants that are suited to growing in your area and are therefore adapted to the conditions in your garden. And you may decide to save some of the seeds from your plants for next year, meaning you'll be adding to the genetic diversity of that species or variety. And also you'll be cutting down on the environmental and financial costs involved with packaging and shipping seeds. Plus, if you have a surplus of seeds, you can pay it forward by offering them up via a seed share scheme. And if I've convinced you that you should have a look at growing some open pollinated seeds this year, where might you go to get them? Well, some of the big seed companies, such as King's, sell heirloom varieties, But if you'd prefer to buy from a small-scale producer that specialises in not only open pollinated but organic seeds, you could try one of the following if you're based in the UK or Ireland. And I got this list from a blog from the Seed Sovereignty website, which is seedsovereignty.info. They recommend the Irish Seed Savers Association, Vital Seeds, who are based in Devon, the Seed Cooperative, who are based in South Lincolnshire, Real Seeds, who are in Wales, Brown Envelope Seeds in Cork, and Tamar Organics in Cornwall. There are more companies like Pointsfield Herbs, Eco Seeds, Beans and Herbs, so do a bit of research on the internet to find one near you. I spoke to Neil Munro of the Gaia Foundation, and he recommends the seedsovereignty.info website as a great portal for information for anyone wishing to find out more. He's also recommended that if you're in the States, you check out the Seed Savers Exchange, the Organic Seed Alliance, and the Indigenous Seed Network. And there's also the Native Seed Alliance located on the US-Canada border. So thank you, Neil, for your help with this episode. There are also community seed banks, and they're a way for people to learn how to harvest their own seeds and provide a community within which people can share these seeds. Examples in the UK are the London Freedom Seed Bank, and there are others in Stroud, Sussex, Shetland and Liverpool. And of course, you can attend seed share or seed swap events, and there are online ways to send and receive seeds. For example, the Heritage Seed Library, again, if you're based in the UK. So good luck to you if you're going to take the plunge and try something a bit different this year. You should be able to source vegetables, flower and wildflower seeds, so there's generally something for all growers. And I believe Esiah's family are keen to carry on his good work, but I'm not sure how active the Seed Share project is at this moment. I would suggest perhaps following them on social media so you can support the project as and when it comes online. I asked Esiah to provide me some suggestions of people he felt I should interview, and he emailed me a list, and it is the very least I can do, that by hook or by crook, I'm going to get every last one of his suggested guests on the podcast at some point in the future. I'd like to extend my condolences to Esiah's friends and family, and to thank Esiah for the impact he made on the world of horticulture and the inspiration that he gave to so many of us. Thanks for listening.
I advocate to every gardener that I speak to, or any individual that is interested in growing food, I say to them, it's best to go with open pollination and heirloom varieties which have lasted generations. And, you never know, you may create your own particular sweet corn, tomato, squash, or onion. You may create your own just through allowing the plants to be open pollinated by bees. And that's why I encourage seed sharing, because what seed sharing basically does, it enables a community to start growing food that they otherwise wouldn't be exposed to, that is so bountiful in a country like the UK. And then they take that and then they grow it in their community, they grow it in their village. And what they find is not only is it prolific, but year after year after year, it's changing, it's adapting to the climate. And there's new varieties that are being grown, that they've grown themselves, and they can keep it, store it, and pass it on generation to generation. Where corn originally came from, it wasn't just yellow. So everything that we're growing in the UK and everything that we're buying seeds for and everything that we're thinking is strictly uniform, strict rules, and we have to buy by that particular colour, shape, flavour, even name. Originally, it wasn't grown that way. It was grown with nature, not against nature, and colour, variety, creativity, that was at the forefront. It was only when it was taken from those countries and brought back to the UK and other countries like the UK, and it was then marketed, and then it was turned into a cash cow, and that's when it loses its soul. Because at the end of the day, growing food, by cooking food, by eating food, it's about the soul.